Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this May 2nd finds that there are no major changes in the forecast this morning. Still looking at a significant and locally heavy rainfall event impacting a big portion of the Corn Belt for today through a portion of Friday. I have made the longer range forecast a little bit wetter today in the 6 to 10 day period, but overall, the longer range forecast for the Corn Belt still not looking overly wet. Dry weather going to continue for the mid south for another couple of days before that area has some modest rains for the end of this work week, but overall, the entire 2 week forecast are clearly not wet. More thunderstorm activity, some of which will be strong and severe in the hard red winter wheat belt for especially today, but for some areas tomorrow as well. Localized good rains in areas that get the strong to severe storms, but overall coverage of any good rains will be quite poor, especially in the west. Still looking at some warmth there for the next couple of days, with especially some 90s in the south for today. Minimal rains for close to another week in the northern plains, but then some rains are likely to return to that area in the second week of the 2 week forecast. My temperature and rainfall outlooks this morning, a lot of warmth in the forecast for the 1 to 5 and 11 to 15 day periods, but just some modest cooling back to near normal temperatures for especially eastern and southeastern portions of the nation for the 6 to 10 day period. As I mentioned earlier, I am making the 6 to 10 day forecast a little bit wetter today for the Corn Belt, going for near normal amounts of rainfall for a big portion of that area versus the below normal rainfall forecast that I had yesterday. And note that I am now going for some above normal rainfall totals in the northern plains for the 11 to 15 day period. QPF discussion this morning. I do have a disagreement this morning with the type of rains that they are showing in southeastern Kansas through southwestern Missouri. I think that rainfall amounts there will be less than the map shows, but otherwise am agreeing that we are still looking at additional significant and locally heavy rains for a big portion of the Corn Belt over the next 48 hours. Still look at the very limited amounts of rainfall in western portions of the hard red winter wheat belt. For the 6 to 7 day time frame, certainly going to be some rains in this period, but I think that overall the rains that they show, especially to the south and southwest of the line that I just drew there, I think that they're overdoing rains in that area and would not be surprised at all to see a lot of that area actually have nothing at all for the day 6 to 7 time frame, which would be Monday and Tuesday of next week. Afternoon high temperatures yesterday. A couple of significant things I want to point out. Readings a good 10 to as much as 20 degrees above normal yesterday in southeastern portions of the Corn Belt, and indeed we did see some 90 plus degree highs yesterday across a small portion of the southern plains winter wheat area. 18-hour rainfall totals through 1 o'clock this morning shows that our long-awaited storm system is really starting to take shape, as we did see some significant and locally big rains across a decent portion of the northwestern Corn Belt, localized rains in excess of 2 or even 3 inches, and the radar estimated rainfall would back that up as well. Best coverage of rainfall obviously in the northeastern portions of Iowa and into southern portions of Wisconsin. Another good pocket of rainfall in northeastern portions of Kansas. Portions of Iowa have had locally significant rains, but still a lot of work to do to fill in the rainfall in Iowa, especially in southern portions of the state where that rainfall is especially going to be quite welcome. A look at the radar this morning shows that scattered shower and thunderstorm activity is occurring, especially across northeastern portions of Missouri, southeastern Iowa, northeastward into portions of Wisconsin and Michigan. We're going to be seeing this activity largely dying out by around mid to late morning this morning. Once that dies off, though, we're going to have to look back into southwestern portions of the middle of the country to see our next rainfall threat. And this is a simulated radar estimation from one of the short-range, high-resolution models, and they're showing that by 1 o'clock this afternoon, that we are going to be seeing some isolated to widely scattered shower and thunderstorm activity forming at that time across portions of the western, southwestern hard red winter wheat belt. Again, a situation where places that get under a strong or severe thunderstorm there will see a nice rain, but you can see that the overall coverage of that rainfall is going to be quite spotty at that time. After that, though, by the time we get to 10 o'clock this evening, this is again a radar estimated radar simulation from one of the short-range high-resolution models. You can see that after we had the initial blow-up of thunderstorm activity in southwestern Kansas, by the time we get to 10 o'clock this evening, a widespread and very large area of shower and thunderstorm activity working its way into the western Corn Belt, and more than likely a lot of the activity that is shown would be producing some severe weather and locally heavy heavy amounts of rainfall as well. As far as the severe weather threat is concerned, that's what it looks like for both today and also for tomorrow. Note that we see a rare moderate risk of severe weather across extreme southwestern portion of the Corn Belt, surrounding an area, an enhanced area of severe weather risk surrounding that, and still an enhanced risk of severe weather across a sizable portion of the central Corn Belt tomorrow. So still a lot of rainfall to work through in the Corn Belt, and there's 5-day rainfall totals from the various models indicating that as far as the Corn Belt is concerned, only far southwestern and far southeastern portion of the region are not looking at least another half to inch and a half rainfall in the near term, with some localized amounts of more than 2 inches. Again, though, that you can see that as far as the hard red winter wheat belt is concerned, a lot of that area looking to miss out on the real good coverage of good rainfall that is going to be occurring from this near-term storm system. Best chances of rain there probably will be for today, anything pretty spotty there for tomorrow, before conditions in the hard red belt dry out again for Friday through at least early portions of next week. Something I've been pointing out again since Friday is the fact that a lot of this rainfall in the Corn Belt is very beneficial in nature. And again, looking at April precipitation totals on a ranking basis, you can see that some portions of southeastern Iowa and into northwestern Missouri had one of their driest Aprils on record. So make no doubt that for especially this portion of the Corn Belt, rains that have already been received, and especially rains that are going to still be seen over the next 48 hours, extremely beneficial in nature for an area that was so exceptionally dry in April. Longer term, as I noted, I did put a little bit more rainfall in the 6 to 10 day forecast today for especially the Corn Belt. This is looking at the European model and also the GFS model from around 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. Still looking at a storm system for a late Tuesday night through about Thursday in the Corn Belt. Relatively similar timing to what I had yesterday, but maybe extending the event a little bit longer than what I suggested yesterday, but at least some consistency on the timing of the rainfall situation, the fact that we are going to be seeing another rainfall event in the Corn Belt for next week. Looks a little bit wetter today, as I said, but still not looking for anything exceptionally big. There's what the various weather models are showing as far as 6 to 10 day rainfall is concerned. You can see that the GFS operational model, the GFS ensemble, even the European operational model, all suggesting relatively decent, not overly heavy, but some relatively decent rains in the Corn Belt for the 6 to 10 day period. Canadian ensemble, even the European ensemble, not quite as emphatic on the rains in that period. But again, the consistency that we're seeing in the GFS ensemble, and European operational models was enough for me to push rainfall in the Corn Belt next week into the near normal category. You can see as well that some of this rainfall does work into a portion of the hard red winter wheat belt. I think that a lot of that area again does quite poorly on rainfall for the 6 to 10 day period, but quite possibly eastern, northeastern portions of Kansas and portions of Nebraska could see some rainfall amounts in the 6 to 10 day period of a half inch or a little bit more. In the longer term, if you remember from earlier in the presentation, I noted how 11 to 15 day rainfall in the northern plains might be above normal. And looking at the upper air pattern for the middle of the 11 to 15 day period, this would be from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, May 15th. You can see that there is some troughing that is indicated by both the GFS ensemble and the European ensemble in the middle of the 11 to 15 day time frame. So that would be a weather pattern that would set the northern plains up into a more favorable position for some above normal rainfall totals for the 11 to 15 day time frame. I doubt that it would be extremely heavy. I don't think that we're looking at extremely heavy rainfall amounts in the 11 to 15 day period, but want to note that some better rainfall amounts could be falling in the northern plains in the week 2 period of the 2-week time frame, especially noting that given the fact that the northern plains as well has been running quite a bit below normal on precipitation, especially during the month of April. Temperature wise, again, a lot of warmth in the near term, and especially in the 11 to 15 day period as well. What I'm showing here is 500 millibar height anomalies from the beginning of the 11 to 15 day period, and you can see that for a big portion of the nation, above normal height anomalies for the beginning of the 11 to 15 day period, something that correlates very strongly towards widespread above normal temperatures in the nation for that same time frame. A few notes internationally this morning. No changes in the South American situation. Still easily below normal rainfall throughout all of the Safrina corn areas of Brazil for the next 2 weeks, especially dry, looking to be portions of Goiás, western Minas Gerais, and into western portion of Bahia. Some very modest rains, a half inch at best. A lot of places not even that much across portions of Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná for around May 9th and 10th. For Argentina, still well above normal rainfall. The bulk of the rainfall that is shown, it's going to be occurring during the next week to 10 days, some 5 to 9 inch rainfall amounts, very likely for eastern portion of Cordoba, eastward into Entre Rios, and a decent portion of that rainfall that is indicated by those maps is already going to be falling over the next 48 hours. Over in Europe and the former Soviet Union, still a situation where we are looking at very modest rainfall amounts over the next 10 days for a big portion of Eastern Europe into the winter grain areas of the former Soviet Union. Note that big portions of especially Poland, Ukraine, and southern portions of Russia looking at minimal rains, a lot of areas nothing at all for the entire 2-week, 10-day time frame. Again, might be tough to determine exactly where this weather map is located at, but this is looking at the major spring grain areas of the former Soviet Union, as there is Kazakhstan right there and Russia to the north of that. Looking at fairly significant rainfall all across the spring wheat areas of Russia during the next 10 days, with periodic cool conditions there as well. Again, I am speculating that there might be some difficulties in getting the spring wheat crop planted in the Russian spring grain areas right now, given the fact that they had so much snow to melt off during from the wintertime period. They have had some normal to mostly above normal rainfall in recent weeks there, and they've had some periods of chilly weather as well. Finally, wrapping things up this morning in Australia, generally speaking, below normal rainfall going to continue for the bulk of their winter wheat areas for the next 10 days to even 2 weeks. This is 2-week precipitation anomalies. You can see some areas of near normal rainfall across some of the winter wheat areas of South Australia and into Victoria. The bulk of that rainfall is going to be occurring during the next 48 hours. Other than that, though, still widespread below normal rainfall across a big portion of the winter wheat areas of Australia during the next couple of weeks. That's what I have for this morning. Everyone have themselves a great day.